Well, thanks for taking some time to chat today about UV month. And UV is this natural thing that comes from the sun. So how come it's something that we have to be worried about?
Well, it's a great thing. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We need it. It's good for us, but just not in large quantities. And putting on sunscreen before you leave is pretty commonplace, especially where we live in Reno. But a lot of people forget that UV also impacts your eyes, and it can be devastating, even in the winter months. So even though we are now in the summer, it's especially important to think about this topic during the winter if you are up on the mountain skiing.
Or if you're on the water, you're going to get more reflection off of white in water than you do just being out hiking in the woods. People will put a hat on to prevent some UV exposure. That cuts it by about 50%. But what you really need is 100% UV protection with your eyes to prevent a lot of conditions that can be exacerbated by UV.
These conditions, they affect everything through the eyes. It can start as superficial as the eyelid skin. One of the biggest eyelid cancers actually is basal cell carcinoma. If people get styes repeatedly in one specific location, if you are losing eyelashes, particularly over that location, it's a real
Hmm.
indicator that something else is going on that needs to get looked at. And starting at the skin, it will go back even to the conjunctiva, the white part of your eye, where you can get these kind of elevated masses from UV exposure called pinguecula. Even more advanced would be a pterygium that actually starts to grow on the front surface of the cornea and distort your prescription.
Wow.
Your cornea and the lens inside your eye really absorbs most of the UV that's coming in to try and protect so the retina isn't getting all of that UV. But that's where cataract formation comes in from that UV getting absorbed by the lens in your eye that you start to get clouding of that lens over time.
And it can cause macular degeneration. Now our car windshields have more of a UV block than our grandparents' cars did, but it's still not giving you 100% protection. Like Dr. Donahue was saying, more common is the pinguecula, that you get a little bit of inflammation on the conjunctiva that may be elevated and raised. But when you get a pterygium is actually a hyperplasia or an overgrowth of that membrane that starts to come onto your cornea. And that can cause distortions in your vision that may need to be surgically removed. It can cause scarring. So all of these things are really pretty preventable with protection. I mean, there's no 100% for anything, but if you go from 90th percentile never wearing anything, you're going to have problems, to always wearing some type of protection, and you drop down into the 10th percentile, that's an easy one. That's a pretty simple win that most people can do. And most people, once they have a nice pair of sunglasses, are like, gosh, I really like my sunglasses.
And it doesn't even have to be expensive. Of course, you can get the nice prescription sunglasses, especially for adults. But this topic is even important for parents to recognize for their children, especially at our elevation. The higher elevation you are, the more exposure to UV light you're going to get. So even for our kids, it's important to start in babies, start getting them in sunglasses. And you can buy sunglasses over the counter or at sports stores that are really inexpensive, as long as you are looking for a sticker on the front of the lens that says UVA and UVB protected. That's completely fine. It's as long as it has that sticker on there, that's what you want to look for. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this um, big budget issue. So there's a lot of different options.
And we tell our patients, like, "Hey, if you go through 12 pair of sunglasses a year, don't spend a bunch of money on them.
Yeah.
Just go and get the $20 pair that you like off Amazon and order them by the dozen. That's fine. But if it's somebody that wants to be fashion forward, or their glasses or something that they always have on and they're not worried about losing them, sure, you can get anything made into a pair of sunglasses almost. So you can do prescription sunglasses and a lot of the cooler styles that people used to think were just like, oh, I have a prescription, I can't put those my lenses in that type of frame. Most of the time you can even get prescription ski goggles, or that might be a time where you say, hey, for recreation, I'll wear my contact lenses so that I can wear my Plano sunglasses. And that doesn't mean you're in your contacts all day. That could be I use my contacts when I'm skiing for 3 hours or hiking or, wake surfing or whatever. You have a lot of different options if people are willing to explore the possibilities.
So for eye protection for UV, it sounds like wear a hat and get UVA and sunglasses. Are there other ways that we can stem the immediate threat of UV in the eyeballs?
The sunglasses may also say 100% UV or UV 400 on them. Some contact lenses are going to block some amount of UV, not to the same extent that a good sunglass lens is, but maybe it'll get you 90 to 95% of the way there with most of the silicone hydrogels that are on the market these days. You're getting some UV protection out of those, but that isn't going to protect against some of the outer eyeball stuff. You can still get the pingueculas and the pterygiums to a certain extent to be exacerbated, and part of it is, hey, if I'm going on a walk in the morning, do I need to put sunscreen on? Probably not. If I'm going to the beach for the day, you're going to put sunscreen on. I mean, use some good judgment. It's not like I'm going out to get the mail, I got to put my sunglasses on. But if you know you're going to be outside for, over an hour plus, it's a good idea to have protection.
Especially during that 10 to 2 hour. That is the key. And just like everything else, it's moderation. We do need sunlight. Sunlight is very good for us, especially first thing in the morning. That has been absolutely proven. But it's really the overexposure for the time duration and taking into account where we live, the years and years of that chronic sun exposure that really is what's causing a problem. If you're in an acute situation, your corneas can get sunburn. It's called photokeratitis. It's extremely painful. Usually sets in about 8 to 10
Right.
hours after you've had your glorious day up in Tahoe without your sunglasses. Talking about seeing a grown man
Cry.
bawling, coming to the
Yes.
office with a towel over their head because they're so light
Oh,
sensitive. It's miserable. So
yeah.
you have to be smart, just like anything else.
Or that we call
Well,
it welder's burn sometimes. You'd see
okay.
it kids that were taking a welding class for the first time and they weren't putting their shield down every time and they just flash because
Oh,
that type of UV is super, super intense and that can come on pretty quickly with, seconds to minutes of exposure. You're not going to get that from the sun unless you're, really staring at it. But if you're really staring at it, like you always will get every time there's a major eclipse, you're going to see a patient or two that stared at the eclipse and they're going to have a loss of vision in their central
oof.
area of vision that's going to cost them acuity. Sometimes it does get better and go away, but sometimes it can be permanent.
Hmm.
So
Be
it's
smart.
no joke when the teachers are saying, look through the little slit or,
Uh,
use the mirror box to look at it. It can happen pretty quick.
yeah. Are there people that with other types of medical conditions that are more susceptible to UV issues in their eyes?
Fairer skinned people, lighter colored irises typically tend to be more sensitive.
Or if you're on systemic medications, such as some antibiotics like tetracyclines, doxycyclines, some of the facial creams, that can also kind of sensitize the skin already and make you more prone to burning.
All right. Well, UV Awareness Month in July, but you did mention, Dr. J, that we got to be aware of it in the wintertime also. Does anything change in the wintertime months for
The
us with the UV?
snow is actually it is way worse than the water. So the snow, because the water droplets are frozen in a crystal versus water is more flat, the water is going to absorb a lot of that UV, and you get
Okay.
maybe I don't remember the number off the top of my head, maybe 20% reflecting back to you. But when you're talking about the snow, because it's crystallized and uneven, you get so much more scatter.
Hmm.
You get it from the overhead, and then you get up to even past 80% more bouncing off of that snow surface onto and underneath the sunglasses. So that's why nice wrap
Oh,
might
yeah.
be helpful for some people, or wear your goggles. I made that fatal mistake as a kid when I came out here to ski for the first time. Didn't think I would need sunscreen in February, and I blistered. So it
Oh,
it happens. So the winter is for real.
And you're getting it from two directions. I mean,
Yeah.
you're getting from the overhead and you're getting it reflecting up. You know, you
Yeah.
might say like,
Yeah.
that's an incident a case where having a hat on or a brim on your helmet may not be helping you that much because everything's reflecting back up too.
Yeah.
So you got to use good judgment and just be educated.
All right. Well, I like it. It sounds pretty clear and simple. Wear your sunglasses and wear your sunscreen, but still get outside.
Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for the conversation about UV awareness.
Thank you.